The final group was disabilities. So obviously within that there are a variety of different disabilities, all of which will have different exercise contraindications, and all of which will have different prescriptions that you would give to that disability. So the contraindications include hypertension, heart conditions, progressive disorders such as MS, neurological conditions, sensory nerve damage, or asymmetrical weaknesses such as stroke or cerebral palsy. Some of the listed contraindications are relative, while some are absolute. All of the contraindications are dependent on the extremity of the disability. Again, in order to show you how you would prescribe for this group, I have divided and chosen specific disabilities to enable me to prescribe specifically to a client. So firstly, I had chosen blindness. So blindness is a relative contraindication, which means you can work around it and prescribe exercise to help improve their general health as long as you're working safely. If you're prescribing exercise for someone who is blind, you wouldn't have them doing exercise where they are free to roam and move alone. For example, you wouldn't have them going on a run outside, like I previously suggested for a client with hypertension, because they are at risk of factors outside of their control, such as cars that they won't be able to see, and they won't be able to judge their path themselves. You'd likely have them doing exercise inside and in a small area where they are able to feel around in the space and know where they are. They don't have too much to take into account. You might prescribe them exercise on a treadmill where their surroundings are familiar and where there aren't any tasking changes that require major assistance. This allows them to work without assistance at home, where they can do this in their spare time. I might prescribe jogging on the treadmill for 30 minutes 4 times a week. Again, this gives them rest days and recovery days between. They would also start on level 1 and then progress by 1 level gradually every 5 minutes. This means you're gradually increasing the intensity, so you're pushing the client, but it also means the client can get a feel for the differing levels and the changes in the demand, and it means that they are able to feel that, as they can't obviously see them and see when it's going to change. Another common disability is deafness. So if you're prescribing exercise for a deaf person, there wouldn't be much you couldn't do in terms of exercise or training. However, like someone with blindness, you might not have them running outside as they're at higher risk of danger, as they can't hear cars, etc. However, you could have them doing any sort of exercise as long as you were accompanying them to ensure they aren't in danger. Prescription of exercise for an amputee. If you were prescribing exercise for an amputee, specifically someone with amputated legs, for example, you obviously couldn't have them doing aerobic exercise such as running. Instead, you might prescribe them a series of weight exercises using their arms instead. For example, you might have them doing 3 sets of each of the following: bicep curls using 5 kg dumbbells, 20 reps. Upright row, which is using a 10 kg barbell, and they do that for 15 reps. You might have them doing tricep dips, using their body weight, of course, for 15 reps. Lying tricep extensions with a 10 kg barbell for 15 reps. Front raises with a 5 kg dumbbell for 10 reps. Overhead tricep extensions with a 5 kg dumbbell for 20 reps. And yeah, like I said, they'd go through each of those activities with a break in between and do 3 sets of that. I'd probably give them a 1 minute break between each exercise. They'd do this weight training 3 times a week to ensure that rest days occur, as well as weight training requires more recovery due to the strain on muscles. Overall, you can see that to prescribe exercise for specific groups, you have to focus even further and go even more specific into the actual conditions of an individual. So with older adults, there are specific conditions as well, as the disability group that had specific disabilities, and you have to tailor your prescription to each individual and each individual's needs. So going back to the exercise prescription slide, you obviously have to be specific and give a frequency, intensity, time and type for the specific client. You can't ever, if you're prescribing exercise, give a general plan. You need to be specific to the client that you have, as they're going to have effects and specific conditions and specific preferences that you need to tailor to and create a training plan around and prescribe your exercise around.